The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the parking lot as 12-year-old twins Kai and Zara stepped out of their mother's old Honda Civic. Their mom, Lisa, grabbed her purse and looked at the impressive building in front of them. The Dragon's Path. Karate Dojo stood like a fortress of glass and brick, with large windows revealing students in crisp white uniforms practicing their moves inside. "You two ready for this?" Lisa asked, smoothing down Zara's braided hair. The twins nodded, but their nervous energy was obvious. They had just moved to Millbrook Heights 3 weeks ago, and everything still felt foreign. The houses were bigger here, the lawns perfectly trimmed, and most of the faces they saw were different from their old neighborhood. Walking through the heavy glass doors, they were hit by the smell of cleaning products mixed with sweat. The reception area was modern and clean, with trophies lining the walls and photos of tournament winners smiling down at them. A blonde receptionist looked up from her computer and smiled warmly. "You must be the Johnson family. Welcome to Dragon's Path. I'm Jenny." Lisa shook her hand while the twins stood quietly behind her, taking everything in. Through another set of glass doors, they could see the main training floor where about 20 students were practicing. Most were kids around their age, but there were also some teenagers and adults. What caught their attention immediately was how many black belts were in the room. "Master Williams will be with you in just a moment," Jenny said. "He's finishing up the advanced class." As they waited, Kai and Zara watched the students through the glass. Everyone moved with such confidence and precision. The black belts especially looked like they could break boards with their bare hands. One tall teenager with sandy brown hair was demonstrating a complex combination of kicks that made the twins' eyes widen. "That's Derek." Jenny noticed them watching. "He's one of our best students, been training here since he was 6. The advanced class ended and students began filing out of the training area. Some glanced curiously at the new family waiting in the lobby. Derek walked past them, his black belt tied perfectly around his waist. He was followed by 2 other black belts, a stocky red-haired boy and a lean kid with freckles. They were laughing about something, their voices carrying the easy confidence of kids who owned this place. Master Williams emerged from the training floor, a tall man in his 40s with graying temples and calloused hands. His uniform was perfectly pressed and his black belt looked like it had been through countless training sessions. "Welcome to Dragon's Path," he said, shaking Lisa's hand firmly. "I'm Master Williams. These must be Kai and Zara." The twins stepped forward politely. "Nice to meet you, sir," they said almost in unison. Master Williams smiled. "Good manners, I like that. Let me show you around." As they toured the facility, Master Williams explained the dojo's philosophy and training methods. The main floor was impressive. Spotless mats, mirrors covering one wall, and traditional weapons displayed along another. There was also a smaller room for private lessons and an area with punching bags and conditioning equipment. "We believe in discipline, respect, and pushing yourself to be better every day," Master Williams said. "Our students regularly compete at state and national levels. We're not just teaching martial arts here, we're building character." Lisa nodded approvingly. This was exactly what she wanted for her kids. After their father's death 2 years ago and the recent move, she hoped martial arts would help them build confidence and make friends. "What experience do you two have?" Master Williams asked the twins. Kai and Zara exchanged a quick glance. "Not much, sir," Kai said quietly. "We've watched some videos online." "That's perfectly fine. Everyone starts somewhere. The most important thing is having the right attitude and being willing to work hard." He led them to a small office where Lisa filled out paperwork, while the twins looked at more photos on the walls. Tournament winners, belt promotions, group photos of students at training camps. Everyone looked so accomplished and confident. "We have classes for beginners 3 times a week," Master Williams explained. "Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 5 to 6. The twins would start as white belts, of course, and work their way up through our ranking system." Lisa looked at the price sheet and winced slightly, but she had already decided this was worth the investment. "When can they start?" "How about next Monday? Jenny can get them fitted for uniforms today." 20 minutes later, Kai and Zara stood in front of a mirror wearing brand new white karate uniforms. The fabric felt stiff and foreign, and the white belt around their waist seemed to glow compared to all the black belts they had seen. "You two look like real martial artists now," Jenny said cheerfully, adjusting Zara's collar. As they prepared to leave, the afternoon classes were starting. More students were arriving, and the twins couldn't help but notice they were among the few black students in the entire dojo. It wasn't something their mother had specifically looked for, but it was hard not to notice. Walking back to the car, Lisa put her arms around both twins. "So, what do you think? Are you excited?" "Yeah," Zara said, though her voice carried some uncertainty. "Everyone seems really good." "That's the whole point," Lisa said. "You're going to learn from the best, and I know you two will work hard and make me proud." That evening at dinner, the twins couldn't stop talking about what they had seen. The spinning kicks, the powerful punches, the way the black belts moved like they were dancing and fighting at the same time. "Did you see that one kid break that board with his foot?" Kai asked, making kicking motions with his leg. "Which one? The tall one with the brown hair?" Zara replied. "Derek, I think his name was. Man, he was so fast." Lisa smiled, happy to see them excited about something for the first time since the move. "You know, your father would have loved this. He always said martial arts teaches you more than just fighting. It teaches you about yourself." The twins went quiet for a moment, thinking about their dad. He'd been gone for 2 years now, but they still missed him every day. He had been strong and confident, the kind of person who could handle anything. Maybe martial arts would help them become more like him. Over the weekend, they watched martial arts videos online, trying to memorize basic stances and punches. They practiced in their backyard, throwing awkward kicks and pretending to break boards like they had seen Derek do. "I wonder if we'll ever be that good," Zara said, after attempting a high kick that nearly made her fall over. "We will," Kai said, with determination. "We just have to train hard." Monday afternoon couldn't come fast enough. As Lisa dropped them off at the dojo, the twins felt a mixture of excitement and nerves. They were about to step into a world they had only observed from the outside. "Remember," Lisa said as they got out of the car, "be respectful, listen carefully, and don't be afraid to ask questions." Walking through those glass doors again, this time as students rather than visitors, felt different. They belonged here now, even if they were just beginners. Jenny waved at them from behind the reception desk, and they could see other students starting to arrive for the 5 o'clock class. In the changing area, they put on their new uniforms and tied their white belts carefully. Looking in the mirror, they barely recognized themselves. They looked like martial artists, even if they didn't feel like it yet. The first few classes went better than Kai and Zara had expected. Master Williams was patient with beginners, and most of the other white belts were friendly enough. They learned basic stances, simple punches, and how to bow properly. Everything felt new and exciting, like they were part of something special. But by the third week, things started to change. It began small. During warm-up exercises, when everyone was doing jumping jacks and push-ups, Derek would position himself near the twins and make quiet comments that only they could hear. "Guess they'll let anyone in these days," he muttered while doing stretches, loud enough for his friends to snicker, but quiet enough that Master Williams couldn't hear from across the room. Kai pretended not to notice, focusing on his form instead. But Zara caught the comment and felt her cheeks burn. She wanted to say something back, but her mother had taught them to be respectful, especially in new places. Derek's 2 friends, Tyler and Connor, started joining in. Tyler was the stocky red-haired kid they had seen on their first day, and Connor was the lean one with freckles. Both were black belts who had been training for years, and they clearly looked up to Derek like he was their leader. "Think they can keep up?" Tyler whispered during water breaks, watching the twins practice their basic kicks. "Doubt it," Connor replied, not bothering to lower his voice. "They look pretty soft to me." The comments were always timed perfectly, when Master Williams was helping other students, when the twins were struggling with a new technique, or during the chaos of partner exercises. Never loud enough to get in trouble, but always loud enough to be heard. During their 4th week, the real problem started. Partner training was supposed to be controlled and safe. Students were paired up to practice techniques on each other, with strict rules about contact and force. Beginners like Kai and Zara were usually paired with other white belts or patient-colored belts who understood they were still learning, but somehow Derek kept ending up as Kai's partner. Master Williams said I should help the new students, Derek explained with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I'm happy to work with you. The first time it happened, Kai thought maybe Derek was trying to be friendly. But when they started practicing blocking techniques, Derek's punches came harder and faster than they should have. Not hard enough to cause serious injury, but definitely harder than necessary for a practice session. You need to be quicker, Derek said after a particularly sharp jab that Kai barely blocked in time. In a real fight, someone's not going to go easy on you. Kai's forearms were already sore from blocking Derek's strikes, but he gritted his teeth and kept going. He didn't want to seem weak or complain about training being too hard. Meanwhile, Zara was having her own problems. During group exercises, she noticed that Derek's friends would somehow always end up near her, making her feel surrounded and isolated from the other students. You sure you're in the right class? Connor asked during a water break, looking her up and down. Maybe you should try the little kids' class instead. I'm fine here, Zara replied quietly, but her confidence was starting to shake. Just trying to help, Connor said with fake concern. Wouldn't want you to get hurt trying to keep up with everyone else. The psychological pressure was constant. During line drills, when students would take turns performing techniques across the mat, Derek would position himself where he could make faces or shake his head disapprovingly when the twins performed. When they did something well, he would whisper to Tyler and Connor, making them laugh at some joke the twins couldn't hear. Master Williams, focused on teaching and correcting technique, didn't notice the subtle harassment happening right under his nose. To him, Derek was his star student, respectful, skilled, and helpful with beginners. If the new student seemed nervous or struggling, well, that was normal for people just starting out. The worst part was how Derek could switch between his two personalities instantly. When Master Williams was watching, Derek became the perfect student, encouraging, helpful, and patient. But the moment the instructor looked away, his expression would change completely. Having trouble with that kick? Derek asked loudly during one class, drawing Master Williams' attention. Here, let me show you the right way. He demonstrated the technique flawlessly, then helped Kai adjust his stance with what looked like genuine care. Master Williams nodded approvingly at Derek's leadership. But when the instructor moved on to help another student, Derek leaned close to Kai's ear. You're embarrassing yourself, he whispered. Maybe you should quit before you get seriously hurt. By the 6th week, the twins were dreading going to class. The constant comments, the too hard contact during partner work, and the feeling of being outsiders was wearing them down. They started making mistakes they hadn't made before, their confidence eroded by weeks of subtle bullying. Lisa noticed the change at home. Her usually chatty kids had become quiet about karate class. When she asked how training was going, they would give short answers and change the subject. Everything okay at the dojo? She asked one evening after noticing Kai rubbing his sore forearms. Yeah, it's fine, Kai said quickly. Just training hard. Good, Lisa smiled. Your father always said that anything worth doing would challenge you. I'm proud of you both for sticking with it. The twins exchanged glances. They didn't want to disappoint their mother, who was working extra shifts to pay for their classes. She believed martial arts would make them stronger and more confident. How could they tell her it was having the opposite effect? Things escalated. During a sparring class in their 7th week, Master Williams had decided the twins were ready to try light contact sparring, basically a controlled fight where students could make gentle contact to score points, but weren't supposed to actually hurt each other. Derek volunteered to spar with Kai first. I'll take it easy on him, Derek assured Master Williams. Help him learn the basics. But once they put on their protective gear and faced each other on the mat, Derek's definition of taking it easy became clear. His strikes were precise and controlled, but they were also harder than they needed to be. Each punch that got through Kai's guard stung more than it should have. Each kick that connected left a mark. Kai tried to keep up, but Derek was faster, stronger, and far more experienced. By the end of the 3-minute round, Kai was breathing hard and felt like he'd been hit by a truck. Good effort, Derek said, loudly, pulling off his headgear with a satisfied smile. You'll get better with practice. But as they bowed to each other, Derek's smile faded, and he spoke quietly, so only Kai could hear. That was me going easy. Imagine what would happen if I wasn't being nice. Zara watched from the sidelines, her hands clenched into fists. She could see the bruise forming on her brother's ribs where Derek had landed a particularly hard body shot. She could see the way Kai was trying not to limp as he walked off the mat. That night, the twins sat in Kai's room after their mother had gone to bed. I don't think I can keep doing this, Kai said quietly, pressing an ice pack to his ribs. We can't quit, Zara replied, even though she felt the same way. Mom is spending too much money on this, and she's so proud of us. But it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Zara looked at her twin brother, seeing the defeat in his eyes. They had always faced everything together, but this felt bigger than anything they had dealt with before. They were just kids, trying to learn martial arts and make friends in a new place. Instead, they had become targets for someone who seemed determined to drive them away. Maybe if we just keep our heads down and train harder, Zara suggested, but even she didn't sound convinced. I don't think that's going to work, Kai said. Derek doesn't want us here, and Master Williams thinks he's perfect. Outside their window, the suburban neighborhood was quiet and peaceful. Inside their room, two 12-year-olds were learning a harsh lesson about how the world wasn't always fair, even in places that were supposed to teach honor and respect. 2 months into their training, things reached a boiling point on a rainy Thursday evening. Class had ended, and most students were already heading home with their parents. The twins were taking their time packing their gear, hoping to avoid Derek and his friends who usually hung around after class to chat with Master Williams. Lisa was running late picking them up. Her shift at the hospital had gone long, and she had texted saying she'd be there in 20 minutes. The twins sat on the bench in the changing area, still in their uniforms, watching the rain streak down the windows. Think Mom will let us quit if we tell her the truth? Kai asked quietly, zipping up his gear bag. I don't know, Zara replied. She's working so many extra hours to pay for this place, she really believes it's helping us. They heard voices from the main training area. Derek, Tyler, and Connor were still there, talking loudly about some tournament coming up. Master Williams had gone to his office to handle paperwork, leaving the 3 black belts alone on the bow mat. We should just wait outside, Zara suggested, standing up. But as they headed toward the exit, Derek's voice carried clearly across the empty dojo. I'm telling you, they don't belong here. This isn't some community center program. This is a serious dojo. The twins froze. They couldn't see Derek and his friends from where they stood, but they could hear every word. Maybe they'll quit on their own, Tyler said. They already look like they want to run away half the time. Not fast enough, Derek replied. My dad keeps talking about how we need to be welcoming to new students. He doesn't see what I see. What do you mean? Connor asked. Derek's voice got harder. I mean, they're making this place look bad. When we go to tournaments, people are going to see our dojo represented by them. You think that's good for our reputation? Kai felt his stomach drop. Zara's hands clenched into fists at her sides. So what do we do? Tyler asked. We make it clear they're not welcome. Tonight, actually. I'm tired of being subtle about it. The twins heard footsteps coming their way and quickly tried to look like they were just finishing packing. But Derek appeared in the doorway to the changing area, with Tyler and Connor right behind him. Well, still here? Derek said, his friendly mask completely gone now. Waiting for Mommy to pick you up? Our ride is coming, Kai said quietly, shouldering his bag and trying to walk past them. Derek stepped sideways, blocking the doorway. Hold on. I think we need to have a talk. Tyler and Connor moved to flank Derek, effectively trapping the twins in the small changing area. The main lights in the dojo had been dimmed, and Master Williams was still in his office with the door closed. See? Here's the thing, Derek continued, his voice calm but menacing. This dojo has a certain standard, a certain quality of student, and you two are bringing that standard down. We're just trying to learn, Zara said, finding her voice. Derek laughed, but there was no humor in it. Learn? You've been here 2 months and you still can't do a proper front kick. You flinch every time someone raises their voice. You think that's the kind of student we want representing Dragon's Path? That's not fair, Kai said, stepping slightly in front of his sister. We're getting better. Master Williams said so. My father says a lot of things to be polite, Derek snapped. But I'm not going to be polite anymore. You don't belong here. This isn't the right place for people like you. The way he said it made the meaning crystal clear. This wasn't just about martial arts skills. People like us? Zara repeated, her voice dangerous quiet. You know what I mean. This is a high-end dojo. Our students come from good families, families that have been in this community for generations, families that understand what this place is about. Tyler nodded along. Maybe you'd be more comfortable at the community center. They have programs that might be more suitable. Connor added, Yeah, this place is probably too expensive for your family anyway. Wouldn't want you to struggle financially. The twins felt the weight of every cruel assumption, every stereotype, every bit of prejudice they had hoped they wouldn't face in their new neighborhood. But here it was, spoken out loud by 3 teenagers who had decided they didn't belong. We paid our fees just like everyone else, Kai said, his voice getting stronger. For now, Derek said. But how long can that last? I've seen your mom's car. I've seen how you count your money at the snack bar. You're in over your heads here. He took a step closer, towering over both twins. At 15, Derek was 3 years older and had the confidence that came with being Master Williams' son. He was used to getting his way. Here's what's going to happen, Derek said quietly. You're going to tell your mom that karate isn't for you, that you want to try something else, something more appropriate, and you're going to do it this week. And if we don't? Zara asked, her chin raised defiantly. Derek smiled, and it was the coldest expression the twins had ever seen. Then I'll make sure you regret it. You think the sparring was hard before? You have no idea what I'm capable of. Next time we're on the mat together, I might forget to hold back. He grabbed Kai's shoulder, not hard enough to leave a mark, but firm enough to make his point. Accidents happen in martial arts. People get hurt, sometimes badly. It would be terrible if something like that happened to you. Or your sister. Tyler cracked his knuckles. Yeah, terrible. Connor nodded. Real. Shame if someone got injured and couldn't train anymore. The threat was clear, and it wasn't just about physical harm. Derek had made it personal, attacking their family's finances, their place in the community, and their right to be there. But worst of all, he had threatened Zara. Something shifted in the small changing room. The twins had endured weeks of harassment, hoping it would get better, trying to be respectful and patient like their mother had taught them. But threatening their family crossed a line. Kai straightened up, and for the first time since they had started at Dragon's Path, he looked Derek directly in the eyes without flinching. No, he said simply. Derek blinked, surprised. What did you say? I said no. We're not quitting. We're not going anywhere. Zara stepped up beside her brother, and something in her posture changed too. There was a stillness about her that hadn't been there before, a quiet confidence that seemed to fill the small space. You don't get to decide who belongs here, she said quietly, and you definitely don't get to threaten us. Derek's face darkened. You little, is everything all right in here? Master Williams appeared in the doorway, having finished his paperwork. The 3 black belts immediately stepped back, their expressions changing to innocent confusion. Oh, hey, Dad, Derek said smoothly. We were just talking to Kai and Zara about the upcoming tournament, giving them some encouragement. That's nice of you, Master Williams said, but his eyes were sharp as he looked around the group. Something in the atmosphere felt tense, though he couldn't put his finger on what. Actually, Zara said, her voice steady and clear, we were just telling Derek that we're really committed to training here. We're not going anywhere. Master Williams smiled. Good to hear. Persistence is important in martial arts. Derek's jaw tightened, but he couldn't say anything with his father standing right there. Car headlights swept across the windows as Lisa pulled into the parking lot. That's our ride, Kai said, pushing past Derek and his friends without another word. As the twins walked toward the exit, they could feel 3 sets of angry eyes boring into their backs. They had drawn a line in the sand, and everyone knew it. Outside, in the rain, waiting for their mother to park, Zara turned to her brother. "You realize we just made everything worse, right?" Kai nodded. "Yeah, but I'm tired of being scared." "Me too." They stood there in the rain, 2 12-year-olds who had just declared war on their tormentors. They didn't know what would come next, but they knew one thing for certain. They weren't backing down anymore. Inside the dojo, Derek watched them through the window, his hands clenched into fists. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The tension in the dojo was thick enough to cut with a knife. It had been 3 days since the confrontation in the changing room, and Derek was done playing games. He had spent the weekend thinking about how the twins had embarrassed him in front of his friends, how they had dared to stand up to him. Monday's class was supposed to be tournament preparation. Master Williams had announced that Dragon's Path would be competing in the regional championships next month, and he wanted all his students to be ready. The advanced students would demonstrate techniques for the beginners, showing them what real martial arts looked like. "Today we're going to work on sparring combinations," Master Williams announced to the class of about 20 students. "I want everyone to see how the techniques we've been practicing come together in actual combat." Derek raised his hand immediately. "Dad, I mean Master Williams, can I demonstrate with one of the newer students? I think it would be good for them to experience sparring with someone more advanced." Master Williams nodded approvingly. "Good thinking, Derek. It's important for beginners to challenge themselves." Derek's eyes swept the room and landed on Kai, who was stretching with the other white belts. "How about Kai? He's been training for a few months now, should be ready for a real challenge." Kai felt his stomach drop. This wasn't going to be a demonstration. This was Derek's chance for revenge, and everyone in the room was about to watch. "I don't think that's a good idea," Zara spoke up from across the mat. "Maybe someone closer to his level would be better." Derek turned to her with a fake smile. "Oh, are you worried about your brother? That's sweet. But this is how we learn, by facing stronger opponents." Master Williams looked between them, sensing some undercurrent he didn't understand. "Derek, remember, this is a demonstration, not a real fight. Keep it controlled." "Of course, Dad. I'll be gentle." But the way Derek said gentle made it clear he had no intention of holding back. This was his chance to humiliate Kai in front of everyone, to prove once and for all that the twins didn't belong at Dragon's Path. The other students formed a circle around the mat. Some looked excited to see the advanced techniques, while others seemed nervous about what was about to happen. Tyler and Connor were grinning, knowing exactly what Derek had planned. Kai stepped onto the mat reluctantly. He knew he had no choice. Refusing would look cowardly and give Derek even more ammunition. But facing Derek in sparring when Derek was angry was like stepping into a lion's cage. "Remember," Master Williams called out, "this is about technique, not power. Derek, show Kai how to counter different attacks." Derek bowed formally, the picture of respect and control. But when he straightened up, his eyes were cold as ice. "Ready?" Derek asked, settling into his fighting stance. Kai nodded, trying to remember everything he had learned about protecting himself. But his heart was pounding, so hard he could barely think straight. Derek started slowly, throwing lazy punches that Kai could easily block. The watching students nodded approvingly. It looked like good, controlled teaching. But Kai could see Derek was just setting him up, making him comfortable before the real attack came. "Good, Kai. Keep your guard up," Master Williams called out. Then, Derek's demeanor changed. His next punch came faster, harder. Kai barely got his hands up in time to block it, and the impact sent him stumbling backward. The watching students murmured. That didn't look like a gentle demonstration anymore. "Stay focused," Derek said loudly, for everyone to hear. "In a real fight, your opponent won't take it easy on you." Derek pressed forward with a combination of punches that forced Kai to backpedal around the mat. Each strike was harder than the last, and Kai found himself overwhelmed by the speed and aggression. This wasn't teaching. This was an attack. "Derek, slow it down," Master Williams called out, starting to look concerned. But Derek pretended not to hear. He threw a hard right cross that Kai ducked under, then immediately followed with a knee strike aimed at Kai's ribs. It was the same spot where he had bruised Kai during their previous sparring session, and Derek knew it would hurt. Kai saw the knee coming and did something that surprised everyone, including himself. Instead of backing away or trying to block, he stepped forward and to the side, letting Derek's knee pass harmlessly by while he grabbed Derek's extended leg. For a split second, Derek was off balance, hopping on one foot with Kai holding his other leg. It should have been the perfect moment for Kai to take Derek down or at least reset the fight. But instead of looking panicked or confused like Derek expected, Kai's expression was completely calm. His grip on Derek's leg was precise and controlled, and his stance was suddenly rock solid. For just a moment, Derek saw something in Kai's eyes that made his blood run cold, the look of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Then Kai released Derek's leg and stepped back, returning to his defensive stance as if nothing had happened. Derek stumbled as his foot hit the ground, caught off guard by Kai's sudden competence. That move, the way Kai had stepped offline and grabbed his leg, wasn't something they taught white belts. That was advanced stuff. "Lucky grab," Derek muttered, but his confidence was shaken. He attacked again, this time with a spinning back kick that should have been impossible for a beginner to deal with. It was a tournament-level technique, fast and powerful, designed to catch opponents off guard. But Kai wasn't there when the kick arrived. He had moved with fluid precision, stepping just far enough away that Derek's foot whistled past his face by inches. And again, his movement wasn't the awkward scrambling of a panicked beginner. It was controlled, calculated, perfect. The watching students were starting to notice something was different. Kai wasn't fighting like someone who had been training for 2 months. His footwork was too smooth, his reactions too quick, his distance management too precise. Derek was getting frustrated and angry. Nothing was going according to plan. Instead of overwhelming and humiliating Kai, he was starting to look sloppy and out of control while Kai looked increasingly composed. "What's wrong, Derek?" Tyler called out, trying to encourage his friend. "Finish him off." Derek's face flushed red. He had been training at this dojo for 9 years, had won multiple tournaments, was supposed to be testing for his second degree, black belt, next month. There was no way some kid who had been training for 8 weeks should be making him look bad. He decided to end it with his best technique, a jumping roundhouse kick that had won him his last 3 tournament matches. It was fast, powerful, and had never failed him before. Derek launched himself into the air, his leg whipping around in a perfect arc toward Kai's head. The watching students gasped. It was a beautiful technique, exactly the kind of move that made Derek the star of the dojo, but Kai saw it coming like it was happening in slow motion. Without thinking, without planning, he reacted the way his body had been trained to react for years before he ever stepped foot in Dragon's Path. Kai ducked under the kick with perfect timing, his body flowing like water. As Derek's leg passed, overhead Kai rose up and forward, his hands moving in a combination that was so fast most of the watching students couldn't follow it. His left hand caught Derek's extended leg at the ankle, his right hand pushed against Derek's hip. His shoulder drove forward into Derek's supporting leg. All 3 movements happened simultaneously, creating a takedown that was technically perfect and completely devastating. Derek crashed to the mat hard, landing flat on his back with a sound that echoed through the suddenly silent dojo. For a moment he just lay there, stunned and trying to figure out what had happened. Kai stood over him, perfectly balanced, barely breathing hard. And for the first time since they had started training at Dragon's Path, he looked completely comfortable. This was who he really was. The silence stretched on. Master William stared at Kai with his mouth open. The other students looked back and forth between Derek on the ground and Kai standing calmly above him. Tyler and Connor's grins had disappeared completely. Derek rolled over and got to his feet slowly, his face burning with embarrassment and rage. "You got lucky," he snarled. But even as he said it, everyone in the room knew it wasn't luck. What? they had just witnessed wasn't something you could fake or stumble into. That takedown had been executed with the precision of someone who had done it 1,000 times before. Zara was standing at the edge of the circle, and she was smiling for the first time in months. She knew exactly what everyone else was starting to realize. Her brother had just shown them who he really was. And if Kai could do that, what did that say about her? The dojo remained dead silent for what felt like forever. Derek stood on the mat, his face red with embarrassment and confusion, while Kai stayed perfectly still in a fighting stance that suddenly looked nothing like a beginner's awkward positioning. "Master." Williams was the first to break the silence. "Kai," he said slowly, "where did you learn to do that?" Before Kai could answer, Zara stepped forward from the circle of watching students. Her movement was different now, too. Fluid and confident instead of the nervous shuffling they had all gotten used to seeing from her. "We need to tell you something," she said, looking directly at Master Williams. "We haven't been completely honest about our background." Master Williams crossed his arms, his instructor instincts telling him that something major was about to be revealed. "I'm listening." Kai took a deep breath. "Our father was Daniel Johnson. He was a master instructor in the military and taught hand-to-hand combat for 15 years. He also competed in mixed martial arts before we were born." The name didn't immediately register with most of the students, but Master Williams' eyes widened. "Daniel Johnson? The Daniel Johnson who won the Armed Forces Championship 3 years running?" "Yes, sir," Zara said quietly. "He was our dad. He started training us when we were 4 years old," Kai continued. "Every morning before school, every evening after homework. He taught us karate, judo, boxing, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. We've been doing this for 8 years. The revelation hit the room like a bombshell. Tyler's mouth fell open. Connor looked like he had seen a ghost. The other students started whispering to each other, trying to process what they had just heard. Derek stood frozen, the full weight of his mistake becoming clear. For 2 months he had been bullying and threatening 2 kids who had more martial arts training than most of the black belts in the room. "But why did you start as white belts?" Master Williams asked, still trying to understand. "Why didn't you tell me about your background?" "Because Dad taught us that when you enter a new dojo, you show respect by starting at the bottom," Zara explained. "He said you earn your rank in each place, no matter what you've done before. It's about humility and learning the specific style of each school." Kai nodded. "We wanted to learn your way of doing things. We weren't trying to trick anyone." Master Williams walked over to Derek, who was still standing in the middle of the mat looking stunned. "Derek, is there something you want to tell me about how you've been treating our new students?" Derek's mouth opened and closed several times, but no words came out. How could he explain months of harassment and intimidation without admitting what he had really been doing? Tyler tried to help, his friend. We were trying to push them to get better faster." "By making training harder for them?" Master Williams asked, his voice getting stern. "By making them feel unwelcome?" Connor looked at his feet. "We thought they were just soft kids who couldn't handle real training." "So you decided to drive them away instead of helping them improve?" Master Williams was getting angry now. "That's not what we teach here, that's not what martial arts is about." The other students in the circle were starting to understand what had been happening. Some of them had noticed the unusual accidents during partner training, the too hard contact during sparring, the way Derek and his friends always seemed to end up working with the twins. They had seen it but hadn't spoken up. "Master Williams," Kai said quietly, "we don't want to get anyone in trouble. We just want to train and learn your system." But Master Williams wasn't ready to let this go. "Derek, step forward." Derek reluctantly walked closer to his father, his confidence completely gone. "You're my son, and you're supposed to be a leader in this dojo," Master Williams said, his voice filled with disappointment. "Instead, you've been bullying 2 students who have shown nothing but respect and dedication. Students who could probably teach half this class a thing or two about real martial arts. Dad, you will apologize to both of them, right now, in front of everyone." Derek looked around the room at all the faces watching him. 2 months ago, he had been the undisputed king of this dojo. Now he was being humiliated in front of everyone by his own father, forced to apologize to the two kids he had tried so hard to drive away. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, looking at the floor. "Louder," Master Williams commanded, "and look them in the eyes when you say it." Derek raised his head and looked at Kai and Zara. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you that way." But Kai stepped forward, surprising everyone. "Why did you do it?" Derek was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Because I was scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared that you were better than me. Scared that if you showed what you could really do, everyone would see that I'm not as good as I pretend to be." The honesty in his voice caught everyone off guard. This wasn't the confident, cocky Derek they all knew. This was a 15-year-old kid admitting his deepest insecurity. "I've been the best student here since I was little," Derek continued. "Everyone always talked about how talented I was, how I was going to be a champion. But deep down, I always wondered if I was really that good or if I just looked good compared to beginners." Tyler and Connor looked uncomfortable. They had followed Derek's lead without questioning it, but hearing him admit his fears made them realize how wrong they had been. "When you two showed up," Derek said, looking at the twins, "something about you felt different. The way you moved, the way you watched other people fight. I could tell you knew more than you were letting on. And instead of being excited to learn from you, I got scared and tried to make you leave." Zara stepped forward. "We weren't trying to show anyone up. We really did want to learn from you and Master Williams." "I know that now," Derek said. "But I was too proud and too scared to see it before." Master Williams looked around the room at all his students. "This is a lesson for everyone here. Martial arts isn't about being the toughest person in the room. It's about respect, discipline, and helping each other improve. What happened here goes against everything we're supposed to stand for." He turned back to Derek. "You're suspended from training for 2 weeks. When you come back, you'll start by helping with the beginner classes, maybe teaching newer students. We'll remind you what humility looks like." Derek nodded, accepting the punishment without argument. "As for you two," Master Williams said to the twins, "I think it's time we had a proper evaluation of your skills. I have a feeling you're ready for a significant rank advancement. Over the next few weeks, everything changed at Dragon's Path Dojo." Master Williams tested both twins extensively and was amazed by their knowledge and ability. Within a month, they had been promoted to brown belts, just one rank below black belt. Derek returned from his suspension a different person. The humbling experience had knocked the arrogance out of him, and he genuinely tried to make amends. He started by asking the twins if he could learn some of the techniques their father had taught them. "Your dad must have been an incredible teacher," Derek said one day after Kai showed him a particularly effective counterattack. "He was," Kai replied. "But he always said the best fighters are the ones who never stop learning from other people." Tyler and Connor also apologized and tried to make things right. They had learned that following someone blindly, especially when that person was doing wrong, only led to trouble. The twins became stars at the dojo, but not in the way Derek had feared. They used their skills to help other students improve, just like their father had taught them. They never showed off or made anyone feel bad about their level. Instead, they made everyone around them better. When tournament season came around, Dragon's Path had its best showing in years. The twins won their divisions easily, but more importantly, they helped prepare their teammates and cheered loudly for everyone who competed. Derek, who had been so worried about being overshadowed, found that training with the twins actually made him better than he had ever been before. By the end of the year, he earned his second-degree black belt and had learned the most valuable lesson of his martial arts career. That true strength comes from lifting others up, not tearing them down. The dojo became known throughout the region, not just for producing champions, but for the character and respect shown by its students. And it all started with two kids who chose to respond to hatred with patience, to threats with courage, and to victory with humility.